What's good, Phantom friends? Today I want to talk about kind of a fan favorite Phantom film, and a very highly requested review. The 1943 Phantom of the Opera starring Claude Rains and Susanna Foster. This was the second Phantom film produced by Universal Studios, to my knowledge, preceded by, of course, the infamous silent film starring Lon Chaney. In fact, this film actually reused sets from the Chaney film. Waste not, want not, yo. Look at Universal being repurposing queens. Have you ever noticed how many Phantom films Universal has put out over the years? They did the Lon Chaney, the Claude Rains, the Hammer film, the 25th anniversary musical Pro Shot, and the Love Never Dies Pro Shot. I'm surprised they didn't do the 2004 instead of Warner Brothers. They really like Phantom, but props, I guess. Before we move forward, this is your reminder to please like, subscribe, and check out my Patreon, because as of right now, YouTube no longer monetizes my videos. I'm gonna go ahead and give a spoiler alert, as always, just because. But I promise you, this movie has about as many twists and turns as a 2x4 plank of wood. Anyway, let's get into it. So, Claude Rains and Susanna Foster are two very notable names from this era of film, as well as Nelson Eddy, who plays another character. So it was a pretty solid cast that they had there. We are off to a great start when Raoul clearly found Audacity on sale in bulk at Costco when he pulls Christine off stage as she's supposed to go out for curtain call of the night's opera. Not for any kind of emergency, just to let her know that he loves her. Which apparently he says a lot, because Christine's like, again. I'm getting love bombing energy, but okay. Their relationship is odd, which I'll get into in a minute. And even though Christine plays no significant role in this production and is just chilling in the chorus, everybody, for some reason, notices that she wasn't there, and she gets chewed out by multiple people for it. Great job, Raoul. Unfortunately, I've had a similar experience. Not as serious as getting pulled off stage during a production, but fucking boys, dude. Remember, suitors are only distractions. The manager, or whoever this is, of the opera house shares this sentiment, and is like, if you want a career, you have to be single, unless they're a musician. So, stop having a life. Yeah. Get your shit together, Christine. But no, really, you've got to have a talk with your situationship here, because,
Ma'am! My sister in Christ!
There is some red flag behavior. After Christine is finally dismissed from Manager Dude's office, we get our first meeting with our Eric, who is not disfigured yet. We'll get to that. He and Christine share a very brief, awkward exchange that is just the very definition of that weird coworker that you don't really know forcing a conversation and you want to leave but are too nice to say so. Just me. But the reason they sort of already know each other is because Eric is a violinist at the opera house in this version. So they are quite literally co-workers. For now. He then gets called into the manager's office, and the manager is like, yo dude, you kinda suck now, and you need to stop throwing off the orchestra's vibes. And he fires him. Eric has started to develop what I assume is arthritis in his left hand, which any string player knows means your career's pretty much over. The vocal nodes of the instrumental world. But what's so crazy is the manager really doesn't feel bad, at all. He's just like, you're stupid rich from playing with us for 20 years, right? You can totally retire. Probably the most unrealistic statement in the whole film. And of course, Eric's like, Yeah, sure. What he doesn't tell him is that he is not rich because he's been blowing his entire salary on Christine's voice lessons. Eric is just a violinist in the story, so he is not the one teaching her. The only interactions that he has with Christine are apparently a few random encounters over the time that she's been there. I don't like this. Because since Eric isn't teaching her personally, it really does a disservice to the film in the way of character relationship building, which is vital in any film, and definitely Phantom. We get to see no chemistry between Eric and Christine, because we see them interact literally once, until after the chandelier falls and he finally takes her down into the cellars. Which is quite literally the end of the film. Unless you count, the one time that he whispers random things to her in her dressing room that never results in an actual conversation. Not my favorite plotline, if I'm gonna be honest. What's really sad, though, is that everyone pretty much knows that he's in love with Christine, but they keep talking behind his back about, how old he is and how he's got no shot with her. Damn! We can like older guys. There's no need to be mean. I was drooling over 50-year-old LaRue Eric and 40-something-year-old Gerard Butler at 14, so... And Eric is super cute in this movie. He's just this little, awky, timid, middle-aged guy who just wants to play some violin and stare at pretty sopranos. Christine doesn't even know he's the one paying for her lessons. He's being a sugar daddy without even receiving any sugar. Come on. I wish there was some rando into me enough to pay for my lessons for no reason. All of the tween coming-of-age movies assured me I'd get my glow up and might finally be the semi-hot goth girl. But no. I'm just a mid 4 out of 10 micro YouTuber with a witch nose and a big forehead. Gotta make sure the boyfriend doesn't hear that or he'll smack me. Lovingly. But yeah, Eric's broke as hell and his landlady's going full pimp on him at this point, yo, where's my money, you scruff? And this is why we don't get into parasocial relationships and shower them with money when they literally don't even know you exist. But anyway, it's important to note that in this film, instead of a love triangle, we actually have a love square. Because we have not one, but 2 Raoul figures that are also vying for Christine's love. Why they did this, I do not know, but it was a choice. One is actually called Raoul, and the other is named Anatole. Sorry, the entire time I was watching this movie, I could not remember this guy's name. I called him Anton probably 10 times. Probably because at one point they just started referring to him by his last name without, I think, ever really mentioning it prior to. So I actually thought the writers changed his name midway through and accidentally never fixed it. But no. Clearly I just have brain damage or this script was odd. But Raoul is a police officer and Anatole is the leading baritone at the opera. So basically Carolus Fonta, if you've read the novel. It's weird enough to have an extra love interest, but I think the biggest problem with these two is that they look so much alike that you can hardly even tell them apart. And at one point, Anatole dresses in a police-looking uniform as a costume for the opera without warning. So for a minute, I thought Raoul had just strutted on stage and started singing. They had the same hair color, same hairstyle, same mustache. Come on, Universal, let's do better than the Wonder Twins here. And the strange choices with these two doesn't end there. They have this weird bit where the 2 Raoul characters are constantly getting stuck in the door frame because they're trying to walk out at the same time. And then they're like, after you. No, after you. And this happens like 3 times. Very typical 40s campy humor. And at first, they try to act like Christine has some kind of thing for Raoul, but that goes away pretty quickly, and it seems like Christine isn't really romantically interested in either of these 2 idiots. And for good reason. But she's not turning them down, like, swerve, sir. Sirs. She's just completely oblivious the whole time.
I have an idea. Why can't we 3 have supper together?
Christine is definitely giving airhead ingenue throughout this film.
You first, Anatole, because your name begins with an A.
Thank you for over-explaining your riveting critical thinking skills, Christine. I felt like I lost IQ points every time she spoke. This is generally why I don't like movies from this era. It's nothing to do with, like, feminism or anything. It's just entirely too camp for me. At least in silent films, I don't have to listen to the transatlantic accent, which I can't even do, as you can tell. Maybe I'm alone in this, but it drives me nuts. Especially since I know it's a manufactured accent that was invented for Hollywood. No, average people back then didn't actually talk like they were in Leave It to Beaver. So things finally kind of get interesting when Eric brings his concerto that he has written to a publisher. But the guy's too busy trying to impress his lady friend and get some by showing her how etching printing plates works. So Eric's just been waiting there literally all day for no reason. Makes the DMV look like an express line. When Eric is finally like, F this, he goes in and gets all up in the guy's face, like, yo, what the hell? And publisher guy is like, fam, I don't even know you, get lost. Pretty pissed about getting cock-blocked by Eric, I think. So Eric figures he'll just take his work and leave. He's over it. But oh no, they can't find it. Suddenly, Eric hears his concerto being played in the next room. And he immediately assumes, for some reason, that this means they clearly stole his music. In reality, it's actually just being play-tested by freaking Franz Liszt, the world-famous pianist/composer. I don't know why he works at this random publishing company, but whatever. Go off, King. And he's talking to this other guy like, man, this is some good stuff. We gotta publish it. But Eric, who has jumped conclusions like an Olympic pole vaulter, decides that he's just going to kill publisher guy instead of, I don't know, confronting the people that are playing it and asking what's up. R.I.P. publisher guy. He was just trying to get some booty. Well, after Eric strangles the guy, the chick publisher guy was trying to impress grabs the etching acid and just kind of gently tosses it into Eric's face, which he totally had time to dodge. So, now Eric is disfigured, takes a dive into the nasty lake, and now he's going to finally be the opera ghost. But not really. Because he at no point ever calls himself the Phantom. In fact, no one does. The words Phantom of the Opera are never said in this film. Because this just happened, it's not like an established rumor that, freaks everybody out and commands respect. He's just a guy that sends a lot of letters demanding that Christine sing. There's only this one dude who decides that there has always been a ghost for some reason, but he describes him as having a red beard and a long nose, always making this gesture anytime he mentions him. Is Rumpelstiltskin haunting this opera house? Like, what is going on here? Anyway, Eric has tasted blood and I guess now identifies as a homicidal maniac. Because he just starts cutting down all kinds of people. He tries to poison Carlotta by putting something in her prop drink during the opera. But who drinks real anything on stage? No one does that. The cardinal rules of theater. 1. If it ain't your prop, don't touch it. And 2, no eating or drinking in costume. Ever. Sorry, mini rant over. But Carlotta gets so sick from whatever was in the drink that Christine has to finish out the rest of the performance. And of course, it wouldn't be a Golden Age film without the soft lens, overcorrected glow on the leading lady. 40s cinema walked so TikTok filters could run. Well, Carlotta survives. For now. And naturally, she's pretty pissed and decides that it was Christine and Anatole who tried to poison her, despite having no evidence of this. And the only way that she'll let it go is if someone replaces Christine as her understudy. And of course, Eric is pretty pissed about this. So his solution is to finish what he started and straight up unalive both Carlotta and her maid. Like, what did the maid do? Come on, Eric. So now everybody's like, holy crap, what are we gonna do? Raoul then starts investigating the whole sitch and is just interrogating the hell out of Christine, who actually feels kind of bad for Eric. But Raoul is not happy because when he comes in, we have Anatole here trying to put the moves on an extremely oblivious Christine. Raoul's also like, yo, so apparently Eric stole this bust that Mr. Jack-of-all-trades Anatole over here made for you? So, here's that. Operatic baritone and world-class sculptor. Damn. I just love how third-party oriented Eric's love for Christine is in this film. Usually Eric is of course a musical genius, and he's constantly using all of his talents to express his love. He teaches her himself, plays for her, creates a creepy mannequin in her likeness. But this Eric functions like a background character and is just letting other people do the work for him. Someone else teaches her, he steals creepy artwork of her by other people, and barely even speaks to her. He's literally an 1800s version of those dudes who just throw thousands of dollars at streamers and are like, yeah, that'll do it. She'll never be able to resist me. The only personal effort he truly puts in is just threatening and unaliving people who don't appreciate her like he does. Hard to root for a low-effort Eric, I'm not gonna lie. So more boring stuff happens, just a whole lot of, oh no, what are we gonna do? Until Raoul comes up with the brilliant plan of not doing what Eric has demanded, despite how if they had just let Christine sing, they could have, at least bought themselves a little bit of time to find Eric. No, he has this other soprano that the company had in their back pocket put her life on the line and sing the lead role that night. Because, Carlotta's dead. His logic is the same as the Weber musical. He's going to bait him out by intentionally pissing Eric off. We know how well that always works out. We're still putting people in unnecessary danger, but at least it isn't your girlfriend this time. But Anatole has a different plan. He thinks that they should play Eric's concerto and see if that coaxes him out of the shadows. Which, spoiler alert, was the much better of the two ideas. Put someone in grave danger as bait, pacify him by just satisfying creative ego. Raoul really just lives for the thrill of a mission where everyone's lives are at stake. In the end, they decide they're going to do both, apparently. So not only do they go ahead with this asinine dick-swinging contest, but they do it as stupidly as possible. Wardrobe for the opera brilliantly has half of the ensemble masked, while there is a literal masked murderer on the loose. Even better, the mask looks exactly like Eric's. You did it, wardrobe. 10 out of 10. So because literally everyone is cosplaying as Eric, he very easily slips by, and this is where we have our obligatory chandelier crash. But instead of getting creative and using his genius to find a more effective way, we see Eric just raw dogging it seriously using a damn hand saw to cut the chandelier down. Do you know how long it would take to cut through a chain like that by hand with that rickety little thing? But of course, because it's a movie and the chain is literal styrofoam, Eric is able to send it crashing down and, oh my god, dead people. You can tell how desensitized I am at this point. And this is where Eric grabs his chance to kidnap Christine and take her down into the cellars. What's hilarious is she was not even supposed to be at the performance for this very reason. But again, this Christine ain't the brightest flame on the candelabra. So he takes her down. Obligatory rats. And we get some interesting, almost like shot-for-shot moments of the Chaney film. Pandemonium is still in full swing above, but are a few dead bodies gonna stop our man Anatole over here? Hell no. As people are screaming and running out of the theater, he's like, "Come on, play the concerto! That'll save us!" So Liszt over here gets on stage and starts playing what I thought the whole time was going to be a violin concerto, but okay. And Eric hears it, just like they planned, but he's not mad this time. Despite it being performed without his consent, compensation, or proper credit. It doesn't draw him out like they wanted. Instead, he's just like, "Sing, Christine! Sing!" It's a concerto. There's no vocal part on a concerto. Okay. Now up above, Raoul and Anatole are obviously like, yo, this isn't working, and they realize, oh shit, where's the girl we did all of this to protect? So they both go down and try to find Eric and Christine. Because I guess they knew he was down there the whole time, and just couldn't be bothered to send the police. Now, I can't remember when exactly Christine unmasks Eric, but she does, and we see his acid face. And of course, he's like, "Arr, nar." It's not super climactic. Him being disfigured really doesn't play much of a role in Christine's reservations about him, and really has no effect on the plot of the film at all. It's just kind of in there, because it's Phantom and has to be. Unless you're Dario Argento, apparently. Now, the ending of this movie is so damn strange. When Raoul and Anatole get there, it's a very quick and casual, hey, don't do that. No threats, no big, marry me or people gonna explode. It's really just super awkward, as if the guys were walking in on their teenage son with a girl over. "Mom, get out of my room!" As usual, Christine does not end up with our Phantom, even if she wanted to, because he gets crushed by falling rocks when one of these asshats fires a shot at the wall. Therefore, the catacombs start crumbling. The foundation is literally falling apart, and somehow, the structural integrity of the opera house is totally fine. That is some engineering. So Dumb, Dumber, and Dumbest narrowly escape, and instead of making sure they're actually safe, given, the entire basement was caving in, they stop to say, "Damn, that Eric was so sad and weird. What a shame." Anyway, so I guess some undetermined amount of time passes, I'm not really sure how long, but Christine is starring at the opera house, living her best life, when the stars of The Parent Trap here show up again and are trying to hit her up again. But not only does Christine not end up with Eric in this film, in fact, Christine doesn't end up with anyone, because at the end, she happily brushes past both Raouls, leaving them in the dust. Good for her. But I think Christine was really just so bad at reading romantic signals that she didn't even realize she had just rejected 3 different dudes. Still, I have to point out that it is unusual for a film made in the early 40s to not have the damsel in distress end up with a love interest. While I don't think it was meant to be like a progressive statement, rather just a punchline to the whole, "after you, no, after you," bit, it was refreshing to see her not throw her career away for a guy. Thing 1 and Thing 2 then finally just decide, "F this hoe," and just go to dinner together. They make a much cuter couple anyway. What I can't get over, though, is how Eric's death does not faze Christine, like, at all. She just recently witnessed someone die, who not only is the reason she has a career, but she also knows was in love with her and cared about her and paid for those lessons because he believed in her. And she walks away at the end as happy-go-lucky as can be, like nothing happened. Girl, are you a sociopath? Because for anyone else, that's trauma. And that brings this film and this review to a close. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. While this is definitely not my favorite Phantom film, I had a lot of fun making this review. I know everyone is still gunning for me to do a review of the 2004 film, but I swear to God, I have never been so writer's blocked in my entire life on that one. I really think I just have a hard time putting into words how I feel about that film or something. There is so much to clown on about it. We've been making jokes for 20 years. This should be a slam dunk. My magnum opus. And yet every time I look at what I've written, I'm like, this is stupid. This does not do it justice. Maybe it's also because I know the Emmy Rossum fandom is going to come at me like a pack of rabid animals. Because this is the internet and no one knows how to take a joke. I don't know. You guys dissect my brain on that one, but I swear to you, I am trying. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much. Again, please like and subscribe and consider checking out my Patreon. Stay fantastic with a PH and keep your hand at the level of your eyes. No, cat. No. No. You should have known the price of evil, and it hurts to know that you belong here. They stopped to say, damn, that Eric was so sad and weird. What? Damn, that Eric was so sad and weird. It shouldn't be funny. Why is that funny to me?